The soft hum of conversation and clinking silverware filled the air of the elegant New York City restaurant. The lighting was warm and subdued, the kind of place where every plate was a work of art, and every guest exuded confidence. Sophia Carter, however, felt anything but confident. Her reflection in the glossy window had confronted her with reality, her second-hand dress, scuffed shoes, and frayed nerves. Still, she had promised Mia, her best friend, that she'd go through with the blind date. Clutching her phone, Sophia stepped inside. Scanning the tables. Table 6, she murmured, her heart pounding. Her eyes landed on a sharply dressed man, sitting alone at a table near the back. His dark hair was neatly styled, and he seemed engrossed in his phone. That has to be him, she thought. Taking a deep breath, she walked over, forcing a bright smile. "Hi, you must be Daniel. I'm Sophia, nice to meet you." Ethan Grant looked up, startled. He blinked at her, momentarily at a loss for words. Hi." Sophia misread his confusion as shyness and slid into the seat across from him, her hands fidgeting nervously in her lap. "Oh, I know this is awkward. Blind dates are weird. Right? Mia told me you might be a little quiet. So don't worry. I can talk enough for both of us." Ethan opened his mouth to correct her but hesitated. His business associate had just texted to cancel their meeting, and something about Sophia's earnest smile made him pause. She was unlike the polished socialites and calculated networkers he usually dealt with. There was something genuine about her. He decided to play along, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his lips. "Right, blind dates are something else." Sophia laughed nervously, taking a sip of water. "Tell me about it. Mia's been trying to set me up for months, but I've been too busy work." "You know, work?" Ethan asked, curious despite himself. "I'm a waitress," Sophia admitted, fiddling with her napkin. "Not exactly glamorous, but it pays the bills well. Most of them anyway. Enough about me. What do you do?" Ethan hesitated. I work in tech." "Tech, that's cool," Sophia said brightly. "Like coding and apps and stuff?" "I'm terrible with computers." "Something like that," Ethan said, his smile widening. He leaned back, studying her. Her straightforwardness was refreshing, even if it stemmed from a case of mistaken identity. The conversation flowed naturally after that. Sophia shared stories about her diner shifts, her rent struggles, and her dream of opening an art studio. Ethan found himself laughing more than he had in months. Her enthusiasm infectious. "You're not what I expected," Sophia said thoughtfully. Ethan raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "Well, Mia said you were reserved," Sophia said, blushing. "But you're easy to talk to." Ethan chuckled softly. "You're easy to talk to, too." Sophia beamed at the compliment, her nerves melting away. She was about to ask more about his tech work when her phone buzzed. "Hey Sophia, where are you?" "I'm at table 7. Looking forward to meeting you. Daniel." Her heart dropped as she reread the message. Slowly, she looked up at Ethan, her cheeks burning. "You're not Daniel, are you?" she whispered. Ethan's smile faltered, guilt flickering in his eyes. "No, I'm not." "Oh my God," she muttered, standing abruptly. I am so sorry. I sat at the wrong table. This is so embarrassing. Wait," Ethan said, rising. "Sophia, it's okay. But she was already grabbing her coat and rushing for the door, her face aflame. Ethan watched her go, feeling an unexpected mix of regret and curiosity. He had meant to correct her from the start, but now he found himself wondering if he'd see her again, and why that thought bothered him so much. In his penthouse suite that evening, Ethan stared at the glittering New York skyline. The familiar hum of traffic and glow of city lights usually soothed him, but tonight his thoughts kept returning to Sophia. There was something about her a warmth and sincerity that felt refreshingly out of place. In his world of polished facades, she had been genuine, even vulnerable. sharing her life without pretense. It was so different from his usual circle. Business partners who weighed every word. Women who saw his wealth before him. Sophia had thought he was ordinary, and her openness had been all the more captivating for it. For the first time in years, Ethan felt truly intrigued. Across town, Sophia collapsed onto her couch, groaning into a throw pillow. Her roommate Mia peered over her laptop, looking amused. "That bad, huh?" Mia asked, setting her computer aside. Sophia sat up, still flushed. "Worse, I sat at the wrong table. Mia, I spent ages talking to some random guy, thinking he was Daniel." Mia stifled a laugh. "What happened?" Sophia spilled out the story in a rush. "He was nice, really nice actually. Funny too. But then I got the real Daniel's text, and I just bolted." "Sounds like a rom-com setup," Mia teased. Sophia groaned again, hiding behind the pillow. "I just hope I never see him again." Mia raised an eyebrow. "You sure about that? You said he was nice." "He was," Sophia admitted, lowering the pillow slightly. "But it doesn't matter. I made a complete fool of myself. Maybe it's not so terrible," Mia said, shrugging. "Everyone makes mistakes. And hey, if he was as nice as you say, maybe he didn't mind." The next morning, Ethan sat in his office, absently scrolling through emails, while his assistant Claire reviewed his schedule. "Cancel the lunch with Rothman," Ethan said suddenly. Claire paused, looking at him. "You've been distracted since last night. Did something happen?" Ethan hesitated before answering. "I met someone," he said finally, "accidentally." Claire raised an eyebrow. "Accidentally?" Ethan leaned back, thoughtful. "She thought I was someone else. We talked. She doesn't know who I am. And for the first time in years, it felt real." "And now?" Claire asked, setting down her clipboard. "I want to see her again," Ethan said simply. Claire's lips curved into a slight smile. "And how do you plan to make that happen?" "I have an idea," Ethan said, standing. Later that day, Sophia was finishing her diner shift when her phone buzzed. She frowned at the unknown number. "Hi Sophia, this is Ethan. I was the guy at the restaurant the other night. I know it was a mix-up, but I'd like to see you again. Coffee maybe?" Sophia stared at the message, her pulse quickening. Ethan wasn't Daniel's friend, was he? She showed Mia the text that evening. "What do I do?" Mia grinned. "You say yes, obviously. What's the worst that could happen?" After hesitating, Sophia replied, "Okay, coffee sounds nice." The coffee shop Ethan chose was modest and tucked away from the crowds. Sophia found him already there, dressed casually in jeans and a button-down shirt. "Hi," she said, sliding into the chair opposite him. "Hi," Ethan replied, smiling. "Thanks for agreeing to this." Sophia shrugged. "I figured I owed you an apology for running out." "No apology needed," Ethan said honestly. "I'm glad you did. Otherwise I might not have had a reason to text you." As they ordered their drinks, Sophia found herself relaxing. Ethan was easy to talk to, with a dry but endearing humor. He asked about her art, her family, her dreams. "So what do you do?" Sophia asked after a while. "I work in tech," Ethan said vaguely. "Startups, mostly." Sophia nodded. "That sounds complicated." "It can be," Ethan admitted, "but I like it." As the afternoon passed, Ethan found himself drawn deeper into Sophia's world. She spoke about her mother's medical bills that kept her working 2 jobs, and her sketches that she dreamed of turning into a career. "You're incredibly resilient," Ethan said, genuinely admiring. Sophia laughed softly. "Resilient or stubborn, take your pick." Back at his office that evening, Ethan's assistant confronted him. "You've been out all day," Claire said pointedly. "What's going on with this woman?" Ethan sighed, rubbing his neck. "She's different." Claire folded her arms. "And you're still not telling her who you really are?" "Not yet," Ethan admitted. "I want her to know me, not my bank account." Claire's expression softened slightly, but her tone remained firm. "You can't keep this up forever, sir." She find out eventually. And if she does, it won't end well. Ethan nodded, knowing she was right. But for now, he wasn't ready to risk losing the first real connection he'd felt in years. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air as Sophia walked into the cozy cafe, her nerves steadier this time. Spotting Ethan at a corner table, she waved tentatively. He looked up, his smile warm and inviting. Gone was the sharp business attire, she remembered. Today he wore a simple gray sweater and jeans, blending into the laid-back vibe of the cafe. "Hi," Sophia said as she slid into the seat across from him. "Hi," Ethan replied, his voice soft but genuine. "Thanks for meeting me again," she said, shrugging off her nerves. "It's not every day someone you accidentally meet at a restaurant texts you." "I was curious," Ethan chuckled, sipping his coffee. "Well, I'm glad curiosity won out." The conversation flowed easily, their laughter punctuating the hum of background chatter. Ethan asked questions about Sophia's art, and she found herself sharing details she rarely discussed. How drawing had been her escape during tough times, how her father used to encourage her, and how she hoped to one day open a studio for young artists. "You're incredibly passionate about it," Ethan observed. "It's all I've ever wanted," Sophia admitted, her cheeks flushing. "And you'll get there," Ethan said, his tone unwavering. After they left the cafe, Sophia led Ethan to her favorite park, a small but beautiful space with winding paths and plenty of benches for sketching. "This is where I come when I need inspiration," Sophia explained, pulling out a small sketchbook from her bag. She flipped through pages filled with intricate drawings of people, trees, and cityscapes. Ethan marveled at her talent. "These are incredible. You could sell these." Sophia smiled shyly. "Maybe one day. For now, they're just for me." As they strolled through the park, Sophia stopped to sketch a child feeding ducks by the pond. Ethan watched her, fascinated by the way her focus sharpened, and her hands moved effortlessly across the page. "You're amazing," he said softly. Sophia glanced up, her eyes meeting his. "I'm just drawing." "No," Ethan replied, his gaze steady. "It's more than that." A few days later, Ethan offered to help Sophia with her groceries, insisting it wasn't a big deal. "You're going to regret this," Sophia teased as they stood in line at the local discount market. "Why is that?" Ethan asked, holding a carton of milk. "Because these bags are heavy," Sophia said with a laugh. When they reached her apartment building, Ethan carried most of the bags up the stairs without complaint, though he couldn't help but notice the peeling paint and flickering hallway lights. "This place has character," Ethan said diplomatically as they reached her door. Sophia snorted. "That's one way to put it." Inside, the apartment was small but cozy, with art supplies scattered across the living room, and Sophia's sketches taped to the walls. Ethan felt a pang of admiration and guilt. While she lived modestly, her space was filled with warmth and creativity. As they unpacked the groceries, Sophia shared stories about her mother, who had always encouraged her artistic pursuits, but now struggled with health issues. "It's tough sometimes," Sophia admitted, stacking cans in the cupboard. "But I'm lucky to have her. She's the strongest person I know." Ethan nodded, his respect for her growing with each passing moment. One evening, Sophia invited Ethan to an art gallery opening she'd been excited about. As they wandered through the exhibits, Sophia's eyes lit up at each piece. Ethan couldn't help but be captivated by her enthusiasm. They stopped in front of a painting depicting a father and daughter fishing by a lake, the strokes vivid and filled with emotion. Sophia's breath hitched. "What is it?" Ethan asked, stepping closer. Sophia's voice was barely a whisper. "This reminds me of my dad. We used to go fishing every summer when I was little." Tears welled in her eyes, and she quickly wiped them away. "Sorry, it's silly, I know." "It's not silly," Ethan said gently, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "He'd be proud of you." Sophia looked up at him, her emotions raw. For a moment, the world around them seemed to fade, leaving only the unspoken connection between them. As they walked home, Sophia's thoughts were a jumble of confusion and longing. Ethan or Daniel had become someone she looked forward to seeing, someone who made her feel understood. Yet a nagging voice reminded her that their lives were worlds apart. "I don't get it," Sophia said, breaking the silence. Ethan glanced at her. "Don't get what?" "Why you're spending time with me," she admitted. "You could be doing anything with anyone. Why me?" Ethan hesitated, his guilt flaring. "Because I like being around you. Isn't that enough?" Sophia smiled faintly but didn't respond, her doubts lingering. Later that night, Ethan sat in his penthouse, staring at the city lights. He knew he had to tell her the truth eventually, but the thought of losing her terrified him. For now, he'd hold on to this connection, even if it was built on borrowed time. The hum of city life buzzed softly as Sophia sat cross-legged on her couch, scrolling through her phone while sipping tea. A headline caught her eye. "Ethan Grant, the elusive tech millionaire, expands philanthropic efforts." Curious, she tapped the article. The photo showed a sharply dressed man with dark hair, his confident posture unmistakable. Sophia's brow furrowed as she studied the screen, something about him looking familiar. "Hey, Mia," Sophia called to her roommate, who was assembling a jigsaw puzzle at the kitchen table. "What's up?" Mia replied without looking up. Sophia turned the phone around, pointing to the photo. "Does this guy look like Daniel?" Mia squinted at the screen, then laughed. "Oh, definitely not. That guy's a billionaire or something, right? Daniel's way more down to earth." Sophia frowned at the nagging resemblance, but shook it off. "Don't be ridiculous," she told herself. A few days later, Sophia invited Ethan to her apartment for dinner. She wanted to thank him for his kindness and encouragement, which had meant more to her than she could express. When Ethan arrived carrying a bouquet of wildflowers, Sophia smiled warmly. When they arrived, Sophia froze. "You didn't have to bring anything." Ethan shrugged, handing her the flowers. "Consider it a thank you for inviting me over." The meal was simple but heartfelt. Spaghetti and garlic bread served on mismatched plates. As they ate, Sophia talked about her plans to submit her sketches to a local art competition, encouraged by Ethan's earlier praise. "You've done so much for me," Sophia said, her eyes soft with gratitude. "Not just with the art stuff, but you're so humble. It's refreshing." Ethan's smile faltered for a fraction of a second before he quickly recovered. "I'm just being myself," he said, taking a sip of water. As Sophia continued speaking, Ethan's guilt gnawed at him. She trusted him, admired him even, but it was all built on a foundation of lies. Still, he told himself he wasn't ready to risk losing her. The truth, however, had a way of revealing itself. A week later, Sophia volunteered at a high-profile charity event, helping coordinate auction items for underprivileged youth, while arranging items for the silent auction. A ripple of excitement swept through the room. "Who's that?" one of the volunteers asked, gesturing toward the entrance. Sophia turned and her eyes widened as she saw Ethan stepping into the grand ballroom, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, his confident stride commanding attention. Her heart raced. What is he doing here? She wondered, watching the event organizer approach Ethan, shake his hand warmly, and address the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to welcome our esteemed guest of honor, Mr. Ethan Grant, whose generosity has made this event possible." The applause was deafening, but Sophia barely heard it. Her world tilted as the realization hit her like a tidal wave. Ethan Grant, the tech millionaire. The man I thought was Daniel. Sophia waited until the event slowed before approaching Ethan. He stood near a group of attendees, his usual calm demeanor intact, though his eyes widened slightly when he saw her. "Sophia," he began, stepping toward her. "We need to talk," she said, her voice steady but cold. He nodded, leading her to a quiet hallway outside the ballroom. Sophia crossed her arms, her eyes sharp. "So you're Ethan Grant, the billionaire. Care to explain why you pretended to be someone else?" Ethan exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "I didn't mean to lie to you. When we first met, it was an accident. You thought I was someone else. And I liked how easy it was to talk to. You ... for once. Someone didn't see me as a dollar sign." Sophia's jaw tightened. "So you decided to keep playing pretend? Let me fall for someone who doesn't even exist?" "No," Ethan said quickly. "Everything I said, everything we shared ... it was real. I just didn't know how to tell you the truth without losing you." "You mean without shattering the illusion?" Sophia shot back, her voice rising. "Do you have any idea how humiliating this is? I trusted you, Ethan. I thought you were different." "I am different," Ethan insisted, his voice tinged with desperation. "Sophia, you're the only person who's ever seen me for who I am. Not what I own. I didn't want to lose that." Sophia's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back, shaking her head. "You already have." Ethan's heart sank as she turned and walked away, her steps quick and resolute. He reached out to stop her but froze, knowing there was nothing he could say to fix what he had broken. That night, Sophia sat in her room, staring at her sketches but unable to focus. Her mind churned with emotions ... anger, betrayal, sadness. Mia knocked softly on the door before peeking in. "You okay?" Sophia shook her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. "No, not really." Mia sat beside her, pulling her into a hug. "Do you want to talk about it?" Sophia hesitated before whispering. "I don't know if I was falling for him or the version of him I thought I knew." Mia hugged her tighter. "Whatever it was, you deserve someone who's honest with you. Don't settle for anything less." As Sophia lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, she resolved to protect her heart. Ethan Grant might have been charming and kind, but the betrayal cut too deep. For now, she needed to focus on herself and leave Ethan and his lies behind. Ethan sat at his desk, staring out at the city lights that usually comforted him. Tonight they felt cold and distant. He replayed Sophia's words in his mind. "You already have." The weight of his mistake pressed down on him. He hadn't just lied. He'd broken the trust of the one person who had seen him as more than his wealth and status. And now she was gone. "I have to fix this," he muttered. His assistant Claire entered with her steaming cup of coffee. "Long night?" Ethan glanced at her, his expression resolute. "I need advice." Claire raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "That's new. What's the situation?" "It's about Sophia," Ethan said, explaining what had happened, his voice heavy with regret. Claire listened carefully, then nodded. "If she's as special as you say, you'll need to show her, not tell her, how much she means to you. Actions speak louder than apologies." The next day, Ethan knocked on Sophia's apartment door. Mia opened it. "You've got some nerve," she said, crossing her arms. "I need your help." Ethan said earnestly, "Please." Mia hesitated, then sighed. "Fine, you've got 5 minutes." Inside, Ethan explained his plan. He wanted to buy the small gallery Sophia had always dreamed of owning and fill it with her artwork. He'd been secretly collecting her sketches and drawings, knowing how much they meant to her. "I want her to see that I believe in her," Ethan said, "and that I'll do whatever it takes to make things right." Mia studied him for a long moment before nodding. She deserves someone who fights for her. "Don't screw this up." It took weeks of preparation, but Ethan poured himself into the project. He worked with the gallery owner to arrange the purchase, carefully curating Sophia's artwork. Each piece was framed and lit beautifully, transforming the space into a tribute to her talent and vision. On the day of the reveal, Ethan left a handwritten note on the front desk, ensuring everything was ready before slipping away. Sophia was walking home from work when Mia intercepted her. "You need to come with me," Mia said urgently. "What? Why?" Sophia asked, confused. "Just trust me," Mia insisted, leading her toward the small gallery Sophia had always admired. When they arrived, Sophia froze. The sign on the door read, "Special Exhibit, The Art of Sophia Carter." Her heart raced as she stepped inside. The space was filled with her drawings, landscapes, portraits, and whimsical sketches she'd poured her soul into. The gallery was empty except for a single note placed on a pedestal in the center of the room. Sophia picked it up with trembling hands. "Your art deserves the world, just like you deserve honesty, love, and someone who sees you for who you are. Let me try again, Ethan." Tears welled in her eyes as she looked around. She recognized each piece, every stroke and detail a reflection of her dreams and struggles. Just then, Ethan stepped out from behind a partition, his expression cautious but hopeful. "Sophia," he began, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I couldn't let you go without showing you how much you mean to me." She turned to face him, tears falling freely. "You broke my trust, Ethan. I don't know if I can ever forget that." Ethan nodded, his gaze unwavering. "I know, but I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you if you'll let me. You're the only thing in my life that feels real." Sophia looked away, her heart torn. "You made me feel like I wasn't enough, like you didn't think I could handle the truth. That wasn't it," Ethan said, his voice breaking slightly. "I was scared. Scared you'd see me differently. If you knew the truth, scared you'd walk away before I even had a chance to prove myself." Sophia hesitated, her emotions swirling. She loved him. She couldn't deny that. But trusting him again felt like a risk she wasn't sure she could take. "Maybe," she said softly, "some things are worth a second chance." Ethan's eyes brightened, but Sophia held up a hand. "It won't be easy," she added, "but I'm willing to try." Ethan stepped closer, his voice filled with gratitude. "That's all I could ever ask for." Standing in the gallery surrounded by Sophia's artwork, the tension between them softened. When Sophia left that evening, she glanced back once, her expression unreadable. Ethan watched her go, his heart both heavy and hopeful. He had made his move, and now the next step was hers. Sophia sat by her bedroom window, staring out at the quiet street below. In her hands was the note Ethan had left at the gallery, his words etched into her mind. "Let me try again." She'd spent days replaying everything. His deception, his apology, and the lengths he'd gone to prove his love. The gallery filled with her artwork wasn't just a grand gesture. It showed how deeply he believed in her, even when she doubted herself. Her heart pulled her in two directions. Part of her wanted to stay guarded, to walk away before risking another heartbreak. But another part, a stronger part, couldn't deny the truth. She still loved him. With a deep breath, she grabbed her coat and phone. The cafe was quiet. its warm ambience contrasting sharply with Sophia's nervous energy as she walked in. She spotted Ethan at their original meeting spot, the same table where it all began. He looked up as she approached, his expression a mix of hope and apprehension. "Sophia," he said softly, standing as she reached the table. "Hi," she replied, her voice steady despite the fluttering in her chest. They sat down, silence stretching between them until Ethan spoke. "I didn't know if you'd come," he admitted. "I almost didn't," Sophia said honestly. She met his eyes, her tone firm but not unkind. "Ethan, I've spent the past few weeks trying to figure out if I can trust you again. And I've realized something. I don't need grand gestures. I don't need you to prove anything with money or gifts. I just need honesty." Ethan leaned forward, his voice earnest. "You have my word, Sophia. No more secrets, no more lies. But just me. For as long as you'll have me." Sophia studied him, searching his face for any sign of doubt, finding only sincerity. She nodded slowly. "Okay, let's try again." Relief washed over Ethan's face, and for the first time in weeks, a genuine smile broke through his guarded exterior. Months later, Sophia stood in the center of her newly opened art gallery, surrounded by friends, family, and supporters. The space buzzed with excitement as guests admired the pieces on display, works created by Sophia and a group of up-and-coming artists she had mentored. Ethan had supported her every step of the way, not with his wealth but with his unwavering encouragement. He'd insisted the gallery belonged to her, both in name and spirit, and Sophia had transformed it into a haven for creativity and community. As she mingled with guests, she felt a tap on her shoulder. Turning, she found Ethan there, dressed sharply with a mischievous glint in his eyes. "Can I borrow you for a moment?" he asked. Sophia smiled. "You already have me, but sure." He led her to the front of the room, where the crowd fell silent as he turned to face her. "Sophia," he began, his voice clear and steady, "you sat at the wrong table that night. But from that moment on, I knew you were the right person for me." The room filled with soft murmurs as Ethan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "I love you for your strength, your kindness, and the way you see beauty in everything and everyone. You've changed my life in ways I never imagined. So, Sophia Carter, will you marry me?" Sophia's eyes filled with tears as the room erupted in applause. She laughed softly, wiping her cheeks. "Only if you promise no more secrets." Ethan grinned. "I promise." She nodded, holding out her hand. Then yes, their wedding was intimate, held in the gallery itself, surrounded by Sophia's art and their loved ones. Ethan made a significant donation to the gallery's outreach program, ensuring young artists would have a place to grow and thrive. It was Sophia's dream come to life. Now their shared legacy as the sun set, casting golden light through the gallery windows. Sophia and Ethan shared their first dance. "I'm glad I sat at the wrong table," Sophia whispered. Ethan pulled her closer, his smile soft. It was the best mistake either of us ever made. As the music played and their loved ones watched, Sophia and Ethan began their new chapter, knowing their love had overcome every obstacle and grown stronger for it. As the scene fades to Sophia and Ethan dancing beneath the warm gallery lights, their love filling the room, we see how life's greatest moments often spring from unexpected mistakes. Sophia's story reminds us that trust, forgiveness, and love can transform even the most unlikely beginnings into something extraordinary. Proof that when two hearts fight for each other, anything is possible. If you found this story moving, please like and share it with someone who could use some inspiration. For more heartwarming stories about love, resilience, and second chances. Subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in our next story.